Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 0 to 60, and the episode is on the RX8. Now, thank you to everyone that gave us ideas on things to check and double check with this motor before we completely write it off. Now, something I do need to say, a couple of guys mentioned, and that's mainly what we focused on, a couple of guys mentioned using ATF fluid, and there is another oil that I'm having a mind blank at the moment, but there is a specific oil that a lot of rotary users use to clean out the carbon and also oil deposits or anything that builds up inside the rotor housings that stop the apex seal from sealing. Now, I hadn't heard of this method, did some research, and guys that have had motors stored have often had luck when they've got a stuck apex seal using this oil method inside the engine. And this car was sitting at the auctions, I reckon, in fact I know, for over 6 months. So I was kind of keen to try it and think maybe it might help. Now, what we did, obviously the oil needs to soak into the apex seals and really penetrate any corrosion or carbon that's built up, keeping them in place. So what we did 2 nights ago was start filling the engine with transmission fluid. Now, we don't have access to the good oil or the specific, I think it was like Morrissey's Magic Oil or something like that. We were just using standard old school ATF or Dextron 3 fluid, which has got the cleaning process, and we were feeding it into the top holes. We would basically put somewhere around here, we were using that oil can and also this syringe. So basically about 15 to 20 mil would go in at a time. With the spark plugs out, we'd crank the engine over and repeat. Now, obviously a lot of the oil is just going to get put straight into the exhaust, straight out of the exhaust and fill up the exhaust. This became quite apparent this morning, although we did think about it. We didn't realize how much of a smoke show it was going to be. And we let it sit overnight. And yeah, I actually come in, actually it sat for over 24 hours. So I come in this morning and added some more oil to it, cranked it again. I actually cranked it for ages, probably 2 or 3 minutes of cranking with the spark plugs out. The only difference was this time I was filling it in the bottom spark plug hole. Now you can see I've got the oil drain here. Interestingly, when I took the bottom spark plugs out this morning, transmission fluid instantly started pouring out, and it was quite black. That means it's cleaned something from inside the engine. I'm starting to get pretty excited at this point in time, and I started the engine up, and it actually started instantly. I didn't film it. I don't know, I was just excited. I forgot to film. I did film the smoke show after we got it running, which is what I'll play now. Whoops. This probably isn't safe. Holy shit. It's idling. So yeah, I had it running for probably 2 or 3 minutes. There was a normal oil temp. All the dials were sitting where they should be sitting. But it was still misfiring. But I was quite positive about it because it just fired up so quickly. I bet it was just because of the amount of oil that was in there. It just had actual compression for the first time ever. But as that oil cleaned out and burnt out, I went to try and start it again, and this happened. So this is going to be the moment of truth. Engine is now warm. We've got an engine warning light, but I think that's because we had the crank position sensor disconnected. There is so much smoke still. Is it going to idle? It's pretty bad idle. It's stalled. Okay, so the idle could be spark plugs, could be a few things. But this is going to be it. So the engine is hot. Let's see if it will hot start. It won't. The transmission fluid did not fix it. I was pretty confident then because I didn't actually film the first start, but it fired the fastest it's ever fired, probably from all the compression from the transmission fluid. Oh well, we can but try. So yeah, it wouldn't hot start again. So I wasn't. We weren't lucky enough that it was just going to work with the ATF trick. However, I am sort of curious to see if the compression numbers have changed with that ATF fluid clean out. Now, after that last clip that you just saw there, I then sprayed some like an aerosol brake cleaner straight into the housing. The reason I did that, a friend of ours said that sometimes an aerosol like Start Your Bastard or brake cleaner will actually will help these things fire up when they are low on compression. Now, we did try it last week, but it didn't do anything. However, today I actually got it to restart. Now, a couple of guys also mentioned that it needs to get really hot, burn off any carbon. So when it started the second time this morning, I got this thing hot. Like, it was revving between sort of 5 and 8,000 RPM, which is a lot when you haven't got proper airflow going through it. For probably a good 10 or 15 minutes, the oil temp got up to 128 degrees. I don't really know how hot that is. That's pretty hot in a BMW. But I think it was pretty hot on this, and I basically just went for as long as I felt comfortable before I was starting to get concerned about the heat in the catalytic converter. I had David under the car just keeping an eye on things, making sure nothing was going to catch on fire. But I feel like we got a lot of heat into this motor. It actually did run a little bit better after that after the second time we started this morning and gave it got a lot of heat through it. It revved really nice and smoothly. However, went to hot start again, it wouldn't hot start. So that leaves us to where we are now. I do want to do another compression test, and I've also got some news, because I think I found, assuming this engine is no good, I think I found a solution, which I'll talk about at the end of the video, because we'll talk about that later. But let's see if it starts. Back to exactly what it was before. So when it's like this, it won't start without a bit of throttle, and you'll hear me add and remove throttle. Maybe it's completely knackered now. I want to get it started because I want to do another compression test, so we've got to get it up to sort of running temperature. Let's just... third time lucky. There we go. Was third time lucky. All right. I'm going to let it get some heat into it, and then let's do another compression test and see if we got any different numbers to what we got the other night. And also somebody mentioned about doing the test with the throttle wide open. I don't find that it makes much of a difference ever. And I'm always trying to check, I know with a 6-cylinder engine it's a little bit better, but you're trying to check the differences between each of the cylinders. But I will do, just for science's sake, we'll do a compression test with the throttle blade wide open as well. Anyway, I'll see you guys in a few minutes once we've got some heat into this. So oil temps at just, well, 75 degrees, which is where it was when we did the compression test the other night. I don't think it's gonna... no, it won't idle. But I'll just show you, it won't... well, we'll make sure it doesn't miraculously hot start. Nope, so she's still very broken. All right, let's get the trailing spark plugs out, which are the top ones, and let's do another compression test. See you guys in a second. Okay, we've got the comp tester set up just on the screen there. Fuel pump fuse is out, eccentric shaft, sensor is disconnected. Let's do another comp test and see, oh my God, how many times I'm gonna smash that door. Ugh. See what results we get now. I have got here on my screen the results from the rear housing before doing the oil. We had 64, 71, and 67. Let's see what we get this time. And we'll do it with the not touching the pedal first, and then we'll touch the pedal for the second attempt. $68, 74, and 71. So they have gone up A little bit. Not much though. As much as makes no difference. All right, I'll just reset the comp tester. Okay, reset the comp tester. I don't know if the GoPro's picking it up, but I'll read it out. Anyway, we're gonna go flat out on the pedal this time, and we'll see if we get any different results. 76, 74 and 71, although the RPMs are a little higher, so 75, 73 and 70. So yeah, we've gone up a little bit. We're talking maybe 5 to 7% better numbers than what we got the other day. That's with the clean and holding the pedal open, but still 75, 73 and 70. The engine's no good. Anyway, I'm going to switch the pressure sensor, the compression tester, into the front rotor, and we'll check that one as well, just for shits and giggles while we're here. Okay, actually, let me just take that key out because the beeping's annoying. So we've got it swapped onto the front housing. Now let me just have a quick look at what those numbers were. Now the numbers were the other night 43, 38 and 63. And it's just occurred to me, I better double check that I had the corrected numbers for that first housing. In fact, you would have seen it because I would have overlaid some numbers. All right, so let's check this one again. So we're going to see if we get better than 43, 38 and 63. And I kind of feel like this rotor is what might get a difference from the ATF trick. All right, not going to touch the accelerator. Okay, so that's come up at 39, 65 and 43, and it's just occurred to me that depending on where the rotor is in regards to top dead center, you're going to get, the rotors are going to move around on these results. Basically, those numbers have gone up 1. Yeah, the rotor that was 38 is now 39, the rotor that was 63 is now 65, and the rotor that was 43 is still 43. So not much of an improvement. I'll reset it and we'll do the same check with the throttle wide open, just for science's sake. Okay, throttle's wide open. Let's do the test again. Yeah, let's let it correct. That's 250. Okay, it's the same numbers. So that one, having the throttle wide open, has made no difference at all. Yeah, all right. Let me get out and I'll give you a summary on what we're going to do. Okay, so it appears that in this case, the ATF trick hasn't done us much luck. Yeah, the rear housing sort of shows maybe a 5 to 8% improvement over the figures from the other night, where the front housing is pretty much the same. So it hasn't improved the front housing compression at all, which, I mean, it was worth a try. I got pretty excited when I was reading some of the stories about stored, they were older RX-7 engines, like 12As in particular. There seems to be a lot of them with stuck apex seals. Anyway, it didn't fix it in this case. However, I have gotten onto something now. As I mentioned in the last video, rebuilding it is an option, but it's quite an expensive option, and if it doesn't work, it will be a horrendous waste of money. I will still strip this engine down and see exactly how bad it is, but from what I've read, it's pretty safe to say that if we're getting 38 PSI on one of the rotor faces, there's some damage in there. It's probably going to need a rotor housing, and that's what's mega expensive down here in Australia. But I will strip it down at some point and see if it is rebuildable. However, I don't want to be reliant on that, and I really want to get this car going before we start to lose interest in it. It wasn't like we've got enough things going on. If we're not having fun in the car, we will lose interest. I just know it will happen. So I want to get it running as quickly as we can. And I found basically a solution on Marketplace. And it's not just an engine, it's a few other bits and pieces, coilovers, exhaust, all the sort of things that I did want to do to this that I can try and get as a complete package. And hopefully it'll get us on the road with a Renesis quickly. Now, I sort of touched on it in the comments. I think we're still going to end up putting a different engine in it at some point. not a Renesas engine, because even at like the most powerful one in the world is like 250 horsepower. They're not an overly insane engine, but we still want to have a bit of a play with them in stock form. Well, that sort of power level. But we do want to do an engine swap eventually. I don't think we're going to go the LS route. I'm tying up... Actually, I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not even going to talk about it yet because it's going to be a long time down the track. But basically, we want to play with the Renesas for sort of 6 months-ish. Like to have a bit of a play with Versatuner or Mazda Edit, and basically just enjoy an RX-8 the way they were intended before we ruin it by doubling the horsepower. That's the plan at this point in time, but it should be pretty exciting. I'm going to go and see if I can do a bit of a deal on this other setup, and hopefully be able to get this thing working by maybe the end of next week, or at least get us in an RX-8 having fun by the end of next week. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate everyone that suggested this ATF fluid trick to clean out carbon and that sort of thing. I can't remember if I mentioned it at the start, but when I pulled those bottom plugs out this morning, the leading plugs, the fluid that ran out was black. So it had been doing some cleaning. It's just not helped us sort out the compression this time round. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.